Hey folks, welcome back to Nerd4IA. I know it's been a while, but I've had a hard time figuring out new topics and such, but hopefully I will get back on that. For my announcements today, I would like to say that I have caught up on most of the new TV shows for the season, and the majority of them are worth checking out. I just watched The Goldbergs, which is not as funny as I hoped, but still pretty good. And for a half-hour show, it is what it is, and that's good. I finally caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm still a little skeptical as to it, even though I was very, very excited about it. But Monday night's lineup is solid. Watching Fox's Sleepy Hollow at 9 p.m. on Mondays, and then followed by The Blacklist on NBC. Both winners in my book, and the best new shows. I still haven't caught up on the most recent episode of Sleepy Hollow, because I'm working weird shifts and everything, but I do like where it's going. I like how it immediately went from the Washington Irving story to here's a bunch of brand new stuff, and sort of time travel-y, magic-y, whatever. I'd say it's like Fringe for the supernatural, which I'm assuming the show Supernatural does something like that, but I don't know because I never watched it. But the first two episodes of Fringe really take on like a lot of horror aspects, and then it kind of subsides into way insane sci-fi. But I'm thinking this is definitely the spiritual successor, and I hope that something really awesome happens with it. Something that can make it go beyond the first season, because I'm still having a hard time grasping how it could. But I like it. It's solid, great actors, great characters, lots of fun, really good costumes. Speaking of catching up, The Library, I got the first two seasons of Sherlock. I mean, the only two seasons of Sherlock. But I still haven't watched those 6 episodes, and I think it's worth it. Breaking Bad ended the other day, but I haven't seen any of it ever, so I don't know. I want to, but yeah. And that's it for that. On the weekend, I saw Don John, which is what I wanted to talk about in this episode. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's written and directed and starring him. It's his feature film debut as a director, and I think it was great. A lot of subliminal messaging on how men and women treat each other, or how they should act with each other, or how women act with other women, how men act with other men, how your parents are supposed to act, or how this shapes something, or how you live in a contradictory society, or that we are mass contradictions within ourselves. That has a problem. Has a sex addiction type problem, and at the same time, he's really stuck on church and spending time with his family. And those things don't always correspond to each other and such. Anyway, John meets this really gorgeous girl played by Scarlett Johansson, who's awesome, and a lot of really funny and also rather serious stuff happens at the same time. And from there, you get a really good idea of people's misconceptions about relationships, and people expecting too much, or people trying to make someone the person they want to be with instead of finding the person they want to be with, who they like as themselves. And it's a really powerful movie. Julianne Moore also stars in it. And it's a really good movie to dispel like gender stereotyping and what's manly, what's feminine, what's masculine, what's expected. And it kind of makes fun of like romantic movie tropes at the same time, which I also like. It's pretty good. Also recently I saw Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare by Joss Whedon, which I saw the previous weekend, which I never talked about, but it's really good. Apparently Joss Whedon invited all these people that have been in shows and movies that he's worked on in the past to his house, and they had a party. And during that party, they apparently filmed the scenes in this movie. And I don't always like the modern rehashings, but I also love them at the same time because the language is the same, but everything else is modern. And I was a big fan of Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet movie. A lot of people I know aren't, but that's just me. That was my first exposure to modern Shakespeare stories, and I also realized the more I read Shakespeare and the more I talked about it in classes and the more shows I saw and the more shows I was in, that the setting is really the least important aspect of his stories, of his plays, and which are not all his stories, obviously, but you know what I mean. But anyway, the guy that plays Agent Coulson in Avengers, Iron Man, whatever, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., plays Leonardo, which is the father to Hero, and I don't quite remember who the guy that played the prince was offhand, but I'm pretty sure he was in Dollhouse, and Claudio is played by another familiar Joss Whedon character. So it's really interesting seeing these people that you recognize from things and seeing them do Shakespeare and seeing them as these characters. And Amy Acker's Beatrice was just stunning, amazing, flawless. Also really pretty, but that's not the point of Beatrice, and I like that. And I like how typically gender normative that this play seems, with like the "oh my god, I love this person even though I don't know them" trope. But at the same time, you got really strong female lead character who really wants to do things on her own terms, and you don't get that a lot, even in Shakespeare. And I think it's pretty awesome. Let's see, Benedict, also a really amazing fellow. Sorry I don't remember any of their names, but you can just look them up on IMDb, which I recommend you see this movie anyway. Also, Nathan Fillion playing Dogberry, as instead of like this night watchman thing, they're like it's like he's an actual cop and he's got these cronies and here's things, and has lots of really fun malapropisms and misplaced phrases and trouble with counting, I think. So it's not quite Michael Keaton and Kenneth Branagh's version, but it's a great take, and whatever. The visuals are really nice for being very low budget and whatever. Black and white was nice. A lot of the party scenes are just really pretty. So the music was good. So I mean, if you're really familiar with this show, it's a lot more of the same thing, but it's always nice to see a new take. And when we're on the subject of remakes and things, Shakespeare is the most repeated stuff out there. And it's really fun to see how they mess around with the characterizations and the whatever. I mean, you just have the words. You can do whatever you want with the words. And Don John's villainy was a lot more palpable than Keanu Reeves' oiled up leather pants, awkward monologues in the Kenneth Branagh version. So, all in all, I think this is actually a better movie than that. No offense to everybody that was in that, because I did like that movie too. But still. This is definitely Shakespeare for Generation Nerd, as it were. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Just comment, question, ask me what I should, tell me what I should do next. Recommend things I should talk about, recommend things I should look into, movies I should watch, whatever. I want to make this show for you as much as for me. I know, just like listening to myself talk. But either way, this show is making me more comfortable in hearing myself talk, so I will continue. And before I go, I would like to tell you that now that it's October, I'm going to be doing, for at least a couple times this month, a special called Nerdphobia, which is just my Halloween-themed episodes. But let's just see what happens. Have a good time today, okay? I urge you to.